French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Fake. We can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark It Down podcast. I am James Gisanti, and it is Thursday night. You know what that means. We're in the Gym Pack Zone, where we cover all things TNA and all things Impact. We are hot off the heels of TNA Genesis, a game-changing event for TNA wrestling, a game-changing event for the pro wrestling scene in general, because a lot of moving pieces are moving across companies, as we've seen now with this cross promotion, this working relationship between WWE and TNA, primarily NXT and TNA. Tonight, I don't know if tonight was Impact. I don't know if tonight was NXT. There was just so much NXT tonight, and it's a good thing. There's a lot of top talent there. There was a lot of attention, but more importantly than anything NXT related, this was the first live episode of Impact in 8 years. TNA has not put on a live episode of television in 8 years, and they brought it back tonight. I'm hoping this is going to be the first of several over the next year, over as time continues with this re-established brand, this company that is finding its footing again, whether it's through the help of WWE or its own hard work and its own talent. Time will tell. But regardless, this was an exciting show with a packed crowd that was just super excited to be there and super excited to enjoy the product that TNA put out tonight. We started the show outside, out of the arena, in the light, with the hardest working woman in TNA, Mean Gia Miller, with the figurehead of TNA, the TNA Director of Authority, Santino Marella. He teased a couple of surprises for the show tonight, and he was not exaggerating. They absolutely delivered on the surprise aspect with the show. As he's saying that, a car pulls up, and he says that's one of the surprises. But we don't find out what that is until somewhat later in the show. Finally, we get in the ring, and we have our new TNA World Champion, Joe Hendry. Doesn't work. I can't clap because of the arm, but I thought I did fine enough. But either way, even when I was clapping, he wasn't coming around. Joe Hendry, who won the TNA World Championship from Nick Nemeth in the main event of Genesis last week, comes out. The crowd is just going crazy for the new world champion. Matthew Waywalt on commentary called this the start of a new era led by Hendry. Both he and Hannafin did a great job of putting him over and putting over the significance of tonight's episode of Impact. Hendry gets in and he says, say his name, and he appears. Joe Hendry is your TNA World Champion. Fans hit him with the "you deserve it." Hendry thanks them, noting anytime he's faced an uphill battle, they had his back. He said the journey to the title was then, but this is now. And he told Santino Marella that he plans on being a fighting champion, that he'll put his title on the line against anyone from anywhere. And he says, folks, trust him when he says anything can happen, because for the first time in 8 years, TNA Impact is live. With that, Santino Marella comes out, and he has the microphone. He congratulates Hendry, says he's proud of him, and confirms that Hendry did approach him about wanting to defend his title as much as possible against anyone, and that he will be a fighting champion for TNA. He says that with that, Santino brought out who Joe Hendry's first challenger for the TNA World title tonight is none other than always ready Matt Cardona, or now the complete Matt Cardona. The crowd is very much into this. This is a matchup that makes sense on a lot of levels. It goes back to Hendry's past and his real rise in TNA. You could argue it really started with Cardona. And Cardona, who is sort of a blueprint for going viral in professional wrestling. I was psyched to see this match happen. After this, we then go backstage, where we deal with some more fallout from Genesis, as Eric Young and Steve Maclin are debating the future of Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander, who wrestled Mike Santana at the pay-per-view in an I Quit match, not only lost the match and quit the match, he quit TNA as well. Eric Young goes to a very disturbed Steve Maclin that he still believes, Hendry, there's lots of people that can be believed in. He still believes in Josh Alexander. He sees something in Josh Alexander, and he wants to help him. He wants to help him back up. At this point, Alexander himself comes through. He says that he's not here to make excuses, and he's here to tell Eric Young and Steve Maclin that he respects them both. He thanks them for everything over the years. He tries shaking both of their hands, but only Eric Young reciprocated. Or I actually don't know if he reciprocated. I know Maclin didn't, but it looked like Eric Young reciprocated. I know we're on the farewell tour for Alexander. It's not a matter of if at this point, it's a matter of when. We know he's leaving. For where, nobody knows for sure. But rumor is his contract is up in February, and this is just him doing the rounds before he goes. So it'll be sad to see the walking weapon leave the company, but you can't deny the impact, no pun intended, he has left with this promotion. Moving on, we go backstage where the Nemeth brothers are interviewed by Mean Gia Miller. Well, it wasn't meant to be the brothers. It was meant to be just Nick Nemeth, Gia Miller being outside his locker room. But of course, it is Ryan Nemeth who comes out. He has a funny bit where Gia says, well, I'm here to interview the man with his name on the door. And it says Nick Nemeth, but then Ryan puts his hand over it where his tape has his name written on it. He says, there, my name's on it. It was a funny bit. It was silly. Nick eventually comes out and tells Gia that next week he will address his TNA future, everything to expect from him moving forward, and where he's at after having lost the title. Nick then goes back into his locker room, and then Ryan gets on Gia's case, saying thank you. They exchanged very passive-aggressive, very petty thank yous before closing the door on Gia. I thought that was a fun little bit. We then moved to our first match of the night. Took a little long to get here, but we're finally here as we had a knockouts match. I think it's fitting that the first live match in 8 years is a knockouts match, as world champion Masha Slamovich teams with tag team champions Spitfire to take on Rosemary and the Elegance, both Heather and Ash. I knew going into this match they would only do it if they were going to flip the winners from the pay-per-view. At Genesis, we had Masha Slamovich successfully defend the Knockouts title against Rosemary in a Clockwork Orange House of Fun match. And we saw Spitfire overcome the Elegance to retain the tag titles. So I kind of just knew coming into this we were going to get a flip to keep the stories going, to keep the embers going. But while I was right, and while I called that one right, the real story is once again what happened near the end of the match. As Spitfire was dominating and Masha was dominating, Danny Luna, again, just killing it with those German suplexes. As they're getting ready to close things out, the theme for Cora Jade plays, and out comes the NXT superstar. She makes her way down to the ring with a folder in her hand, and she hands it to Masha, who pulls out a photo of herself with an X crossed through it, which is very Masha. So Cora Jade absolutely pulling one out on Masha. This allowed for the distraction and for Ash to roll up Masha and get the 1-2-3. Very surprised to see the world champ getting pinned in this way. I'm not against the loss. I just figured it would be one of Spitfire that would take the L. But I'm here for Masha versus Cora. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. It's going to offer a lot of growth for Cora, and it's going to put Masha on a stage to be defending a title against somebody from NXT. So those are always big deal situations. So good job, good setup for everybody. And of course, with this, Elegance is still back in the tag title picture, getting a win over the tag team champions. So boom, boom, way to go. After this, we go to an in-ring promo with Josh Alexander, who's flanked by his Northern Armory team of Travis Williams and Judas Icarus. He gets on the mic, and the crowd just is not giving him any love. It's just, oofa. Oh, sorry, guys. Medication will do that to you. The crowd, no matter what Josh says, no matter how he is very clearly trying to apologize or make amends or take accountability, the crowd is just eating him up with booze. He says that he knows for the last few months he hasn't really been the same. And to let us in on a secret, he's not happy to see the man he sees in the mirror. He doesn't want to be remembered for these last few months, but he wants to be remembered for the good times he had in TNA. He says he's been here for 6 years and that his youngest son is 6 years. And that son has only ever known his dad as a TNA wrestler. That he watched himself back in 2002, the very first TNA broadcast. And he was hooked then for life. Doesn't matter. The fans are just ripping into this kid, ripping into this guy. He says that if they don't, the crowd doesn't owe him anything. They don't owe him their trust. They don't owe him their acceptance. But if they're going to believe anything he says, it's that his time in TNA is over and the past 6 years have been a dream come true. Bummer. As he's walking away, his team of Icarus and Williams sort of stop him a little bit. He tries telling them to relax, and he talks about how he went to bat for them with TNA management, and as did the Motor City Machine Guns, and just how many people believe in them to be one of the hottest up and coming teams in professional wrestling. He says that you can do this, just do it the right way, because it's going to be without me, without him. They tell him that he can't quit. Josh says that he can and he has, and they say that he doesn't understand. They then sneak attack him. They are just beating him down with fast-paced moves. They're working the joints, and this brings out Eric Young to make the save. He then grabs the mic and says that, 1, you don't mess with Texas, and 2, you don't mess with Eric Young and the Walking Weapon. He then says that next week there will be a tag match where Williams and Icarus will take on himself and Josh Alexander. I could have swore this was going to be Josh's last appearance. I guess they're dragging it out a little bit, which is fine. But it just muddies up where he's going to go. We'll see. We shall see. Moving on, we go to a non-title match, although this match had two different championships involved. The tag team champions, the Hardys, took on the X Division champion Moose and his system partner JDC. The match itself was fine. The match itself was fun. You know me, guys. I'm always going to mark out for a Hardy Boy match. I'm always going to mark out for Jeff Hardy. But I got to tell you, I was surprised at this finish. I was really surprised to see Jeff go over clean on Moose. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Like I said, this medication ain't no joke. But the Hardys getting a clean win over the system, Jeff Hardy getting a clean win over the X Division champion Moose. Wasn't expecting it. There wasn't a lot of drama involved. Matt was able to keep JDC at bay, hitting a twist of fate on the outside after Jeff had hit his stunner twist of fate, setting Moose up for a swanton bomb that he hits. And 1, 2, 3, the Hardys have retained. Oh, no, I can't even call it a retention. That's not what this was. This was just a matchup. So, very weird booking decision, in my opinion. I don't know why you would take this unstoppable Moose, who has been just barreling through the X Division, and give him a loss in a match that really just didn't matter. So, interesting play. LOL a little bit there, TNA. But I'm willing to give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. A little bit. Just because I'm incredibly biased and I love the Hardy Boys. After the match, though, we had another tease, another setup for the 23, the gimmick that was haunting PCO and Sami Callihan. Now, I know I covered this during the Genesis live, that it seemed PCO had gone into business for himself. It seemed that PCO had decided his frustrations with TNA could not go unrecognized. And in the pre-show of the GCW event that took place this last weekend, the same night as Genesis, he took a sledgehammer and destroyed the Digital Media Championship. And with that, it seems that that is the end of PCO in TNA, despite being the Digital Media Champion. It seems that we're not going to get PCO back. So Sami Callihan is the one who is now addressing 23 and this situation and demanding that they come out, reveal themselves, and face him. With that, we hear familiar music as Steph DeLander, a name we haven't seen in TNA in a little bit due to an unfortunate injury. She comes out carrying the Digital Media Championship, and she says that 23 is her. And she says not only is 23 her, she is the new TNA Digital Media Champion. She claims that she won the title in the divorce. That's what's hers is hers, and what's his is hers. This is obviously a reference to the fact that Steph's last story in TNA before going out on injury was that she had married PCO. And I guess now that PCO is gone, all that was his is now hers, including that Digital Media Championship. She tells Sami now that her husband is out the door, she wants to introduce us all to her boyfriend. The lights go out. The 23 vignette plays once again. It says 23 is just a number. And when the lights come out, Mance Warner, former GCW World Champion Mance Warner, is in the ring and he attacks Callihan. Nobody cared. I felt terrible. It was mortifying to see nobody react, to hear nobody react. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not all that familiar with Mance Warner. I know who he is because I am a Steph DeLander fan. Like, I've seen him obviously on her social media and peripherally following GCW. I know that he's a player in GCW. Nobody cared here, and it was heartbreaking. It was just such a quiet moment for what was an otherwise very lively and energetic crowd. Mance then grabs the digital media title, and both of them, both he and Steph, make out very passionately as we go to the trailer for TNA Rebellion. So, guys, nothing against Mance. I'm rooting for him. I feel like TNA, of all the majors, is probably the best fit for him, not only to actually have a spot, but to develop. But I don't know if this is an audible that they called because of what PCO's actions were at the GCW event. I don't know if this was always the plan, but we got here in a different way than that was intended. But I really hope he is able to get the crowd on his side sooner than later. Moving on. I didn't even put that up. My bad. Moving on, we go into what was one of the most hotly anticipated matchups of the night, as the NXT Tag Team Championships were on the line, as NXT superstars and champions Fraxiom, Nathan Frazier, and Axiom defended against the Rascalz. This was very fast-paced. This was very energetic. Quite frankly, I'm tired talking about it. That's how much the work rate was on in that matchup. I highly recommend that you guys go watch it. I highly recommend that you guys give this a look because this was, as the crowd chanted, awesome. And these four guys delivered. The finish coming as the Rascalz are doing their best to put Fraxiom down, are distracted by Wesley on the corner. The referee is distracted as well, and this allows Wesley's companions, Tyson DuPont and Tyreek. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to be able to say that last name. I apologize. Attack Wentz from behind as Wes is completely keeping the referee at bay. This allows Fraxiom to take over Miguel in the ring. Axiom hits a Spanish fly, and Frazier follows it up with a splash off the ropes. They get the 1, 2, 3. I am very, very bummed because I think this would have been a great opportunity to really make some magic happen by having a TNA star win an NXT title. But not to be in this instance because of that dastardly Wesley. Hopefully the Rascalz get another chance at this sooner than later. Time will tell if they actually will, because they certainly ain't getting that. They certainly ain't getting a shot at the TNA tag titles again so soon after having lost to the Hardys at Genesis. Hopefully some justice will prevail. We then move to Mike Santana's in-ring promo. And man, again, we joke about it here at the pod. We mock the term, but like sometimes it just really does apply. Aura. And man, does Mike Santana have it as he made his way to the ring through the crowd, getting a lot of love from this audience. Santana gets in the ring and talks about having beaten Josh Alexander at TNA Genesis. He boasts getting the torch of the standard of TNA passed to him by Alexander, and that he made him say the two magic words he claimed he never would, which were, "I quit." Santana then makes it clear he is going after the TNA World Championship. As he's getting ready to leave, though, the big story hits as Mustafa Ali has returned to TNA, and this time he does it after having signed a contract. That's correct. Mustafa Ali is a TNA star now. both legally and in the eyes of the fans. Ali comes out to a lot of love. The crowd absolutely gave it to him. And I don't blame them. We've all been suffering without him. Ali says that I'm so sorry. Ali says that he has signed with TNA. He says the company needs great leadership, and he is that leader. Ali then announces a campaign in which he becomes the next world heavyweight champion. Looks like he's leaving the X division behind. Santana then makes a face while standing calmly in the corner. Ali reminds us all that in Ali we trust. His theme hits, and this is going to be a fun feud. These two men with very different outlooks on life, and these two men who have two very different styles clashing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Moving on to something not so fun, we then go to a Tessa Blanchard promo where Tessa talks about Texas and San Antonio, and that that it's a place that her family made their name. She says that the Blanchards own San Antonio. That her father, Tully Blanchard, at that point, her father, Tully Blanchard, is shown in the background smiling. Man, Tully just needed to play ball, and you could have gotten your daughter in AEW. But I digress. Tessa then starts talking about her grandfather, Joe Blanchard, bringing up that Joe brought the first wrestling to cable television before WWE was even a thought. She then mocks San Antonio for not having a real sports team, saying that the Spurs don't count. Just rude, really. She says that the only thing San Antonio is famous for is losing the Alamo. She then talks about her family and them seeing something greater in her than any Von Erich, greater in her than Stone Cold Steve Austin or any Funk. She says that most parents don't do that. She says that you have to pay the price to be great. Fans are just absolutely ripping into her at this point. She then says, you will never hear that Tessa Blanchard is not great. The standard here in TNA wrestling has just been raised. She says that it's time to step up or shut up, and that at Genesis she took out the trash, meaning Jordan Grace, and now it's time to get back to business. She says that Tessa Blanchard answers to no one, and her music hits, and she basks in all of her hatred from the crowd. We got a comment here. What's up, Navarro? Saying, sup, James. Hopes all is well. Thank you, man. I hope you're doing well. I am kind of on cloud 9 right now. I am ready to pass out. You're saying TNA is the real NXT 2.0, huh? It's what we've all been worried about. It's what we've all been fearing and dreading. And like Thanos says, fear it, run from it, but you can't escape it. I love the integration. We'll see on Tuesday if that continues the other way around and we're getting some TNA stars in NXT. But yeah, man, it's an interesting time. It's a very interesting time for TNA. But yeah, that's good old Tessa Blanchard being Tessa Blanchard. We then move to the main event as Joe Hendry took on Matt Cardona for the TNA World Championship. The match itself was fine, guys. Look, I love Hendry. I think he's a much better worker than a lot of people give him credit for, and I think Cardona's a decent to good worker in his own right. But we've seen this match before, more or less. Now it's just sort of higher stakes. The finish coming as, of course, once again, JBL gets involved And as what's his name? Cardona is on the outside. JBL confronts him and then hits him with a massive clothesline from hell, throws him back in the ring, and Hendry just looks absolutely confused. Hendry looks just completely unaware of what is going on and why this is happening. I don't know if I lost you guys. Did I lose you guys? Hello. There you go. I'm sorry, guys. Technical difficulties on my part. I'm going to have to wrap up a little bit sooner than I thought. But Hendry looks absolutely confused as JBL makes his way out, leaving through the crowd. Hendry turns into a headshot from the title belt from Cardona. Cardona pins him, but the ref takes too long as he had been knocked out by Cardona previously, which opened up for JBL to attack him in the first place. Only getting the 2 count. He then goes for another radio silence, but Hendry catches him and hits him with the standing ovation, and then gets the 1, 2, 3 and gets his first successful defense of the TNA World Championship. Guys, first of all, I do apologize. I know my energy is a little low tonight. Next week, hopefully, I'll definitely be back more on my game. Just a little bit hard with all the medical stuff going on. But this was a fun episode of Impact, an interesting one, where there was a lot of hype and a lot of energy because this was a live episode of the show and the crowd really showed up for them. But yeah, that NXT influence is seeping through in the women's division, in the tag division. JBL, who appeared on Monday Night Raw. There's the WWE Impact, no pun intended, on the world title scene. It's very integrated right now. Navarro saying he's cool with the mixture between TNA and NXT, but I would prefer TNA stars to be more featured. NXT has their own show. Yeah, no, I agree. Like, look, everything I think tonight worked. Wes Lee getting involved in the tag match works because of his history with the Rascalz, and that's clearly unfinished business. Cora Jade is going to be a fun matchup for Masha Slamovich. I could do without JBL. Sorry, I just could. But yeah, guys, this was tonight's episode of Impact. I enjoyed it. I think TNA is finding themselves to be in a very interesting precipice coming out of Genesis, coming into this new year, thanks to their relationship with WWE. But I'd be lying if it wasn't getting people interested. I'd be lying if I said that fans are talking more about TNA now than they were before. So let's see if that momentum wave can continue. But guys, thank you so much for joining me tonight here at the Mark It Down podcast. You know the deal. If you're a new face, thank you for checking us out. I hope you liked us. Hit that like button and follow. Let us know that you want to be part of the party with us. If you're a regular face like Navarro, always appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you for being here. If you want to check us out elsewhere, check us out on social media. All of our stuff is everywhere. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, although I don't know the status of TikTok, quite frankly, right now. We're on X. We're on Blue Sky. We're everywhere. So check us out. But guys, my name is James Gisanti. This is the Mark It Down podcast. As always, watch TNA. As always, watch wrestling. Have a good night, everybody.